Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Let's get ready to rumble! Seattle's got to make a stop. Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to throw it back to Goff! Who had that on the bingo card? Touchdown Lions!
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the main event. It's 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on a Monday night in the off season. But we're still talking about football. In fact, there was a football game this week with the Detroit Lions, if you want to call it that. The NFL preseason kicked off with the Hall of Fame game. I don't want to talk about it too much. The game was on Thursday. Today's Monday. You've probably heard it all. But I do have a few things that people aren't saying on other shows. Some other tidbits, a few nuggets for you. We're going to talk about that. Also going to talk about some injuries that happened today in training camp for the Detroit Lions. We're going to talk about some things around the NFC North and some things around the NFL in general. So put your comments in. This is Monday, August the 4th, 2025. And we are going to try to drive everyone over to our Facebook page, which is called The Main Event. I'm having some problems that people who are on the main event and people that are on my personal profile I can't see their comments on this side. So we're going to get about halfway through the show, and then I'm going to hopefully, if anybody's engaged in the conversation, we will let all the other outlets go and just start broadcasting in the Huddle Sports Network on Roku TV. Big thanks to them for letting us broadcast. And we are going to be broadcasting in Facebook at the main event and on Main Event Mike, at Main Event Mike on Facebook. All the other outlets, we're going to cut them off and see if I can see some comments come through there. So in the meantime, put your comments in because I sure do want to hear them. We got Broski Bear, who's in the house. What's up? And Davey says, good evening, One Pride. I noticed both of you watching on the YouTube channel. I don't know if that's the Huddle YouTube or if you're watching on Jeremy's YouTube. Big thanks to Jeremy B over there at Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, letting us broadcast into their YouTube as well. So thank you guys for putting a comment in. Please put it in the comment and tell me, Broski. Oh, okay, you're watching on the Huddle, the YouTube Huddle channel. Okay, great. About halfway through, I'm going to cut this off, and hopefully you can run over to my personal page or to my Facebook page and make another comment, Broski, and that way I know for sure that somebody actually gives a shit. Anyway, they also broadcasting live on the 360 Radio Network. You can go to 360radionetwork.com. Check out the broadcast live there as well. No one's ever commented from there that I know of. So we are going to also try to drive people to my page from there, but we really appreciate them letting us broadcast there as well. Maybe we can get some tech support, figure out what the heck is going on, why I can only see comments from YouTube on this show live. But anyway, bad news today for the Detroit Lions. 6th-round draft pick Dan Jackson, safety, who made 6 tackles on Thursday in the Hall of Fame game, and looked really good, is out for the year. They're calling it a lower leg injury. He went down in camp and had to be helped off the field and did not return. That's all they're saying right now. Dan Campbell would not elaborate. They were just saying it was a lower leg, out for the season. Now, you might not think that's a big deal, but that's depth in the secondary, which you can never have too much of. And the Lions like this guy. They plucked him in the later rounds. I don't know if you watched the Inside the Den video, but man, if you haven't watched the recent Inside the Den video, you really should, because it totally validates everything that we said about Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell getting their guys in the draft. They got the guys they wanted. We knew it all along anyway, but there are a lot of haters out there. Another thing we're going to talk about today, the haters are out in full force on the Detroit Lions right now. But the haters were saying, oh, they only took Tyleik Williams because they were reaching, because the guy they wanted was drafted. And I even thought that. I even thought, based on what Brad Holmes has said in post-game press conferences, that they were looking at James Pierce, and Atlanta moved up and took him in front of them. And then Tyleik Williams was a consolation prize. Turns out that's not true at all. They wanted this guy from the beginning. In fact, even in the second, third round, they got the guys they wanted. They were laughing amongst themselves. They're going to take this guy, and then our guy's going to be there. And sure enough, it worked out just that way. Dan Jackson, another one of those guys. They wanted to take Dominic Lovett. They wanted to take Dan Jackson, both from the University of Georgia, both national champions, former national champions. So they took them both. They got their guys. And now this one goes down for the year. Don't worry, though, Dan Jackson. You had 6 tackles in limited playing time in a preseason game. You got a lot of moxie. You've obviously got high football intelligence from watching your highlight reel. You played safety position, which is a cerebral position. You're going to be fine. You landed at a very good organization that doesn't give up on their guys. Okay? If you don't believe me, take a look around that locker room at one Tom Kennedy. Still there. Broke his back. Still there. Tom Kennedy has been waived by the Detroit Lions 9 times. They have waived him. He just keeps coming back. So don't think this organization is going to give up on you, Dan Jackson. You showed enough to earn another shot. Another guy named Nate Lynn going out in camp. Went down last year. They had high hopes for him last year, Dan Jackson. Nate Lynn, and he got hurt in training camp. But you know what? You see him back again this year. He's been given another chance. The coaching staff of the Lions is almost all former players. They understand. They get it. So you landed in a good spot, Dan Jackson. We will see you in the future. Now, Ennis Rakestraw, second-round draft pick out of Missouri, going into his second year, another injury. He goes down with a shoulder. No one's elaborating on what it is, but Terrion Arnold did make a cryptic post on social media, big surprise, that kind of leads us to believe that it might be more serious. He might be missing significant time. Another secondary depth piece. Do you see a pattern here? Another guy the Lions were counting on to step up goes down in training camp. And I did a little digging. Ennis Rakestraw actually missed over 20 games in college due to injury. You know, when he came out and people were beleaguering the pick and I was trying to defend it, that was a piece that I didn't know about, honestly, that he had missed over 20 games in college due to injury. So maybe this was a reach, as some people indicated on draft day back then. A guy we definitely were hoping would step up and warrant that second-round pick this year. And there's still time for him. We don't know what this shoulder injury is yet. We can't read too much into a cryptic post by a professional athlete. So we'll wait and see what the doctors say. But not a good start to the career for this young man. All of last year, injury prone, couldn't get on the field, and we were hurting, and he couldn't get on the field because of just he's hurt. It's 100% injury rate in the NFL. You're going to get hurt. But as we said, Lion haters in full force right now. Tom Kennedy been waived 9 times. Tom Kennedy, folks, is only 29 years old. This guy's got to be the oldest 29-year-old I've ever seen in my life. Kudos to you, Tom Kennedy. You are my spirit animal. And I sure hope you make the team this year. Tom Kennedy, by the way, career has never scored a touchdown. He has, however, thrown for a touchdown. Tom Kennedy has a perfect passer rating. He's 1 for 1 for 75 yards and 1 touchdown to Khalif Raymond. Long live Tom Kennedy. Let's see who's in the comments here. Elise Memes. Great to see you. So good to see you as well, Elise. I hope you're enjoying the summer. I know I am. Just got back from the campground. Did lose a friend last week. Rest in peace to Flint's Ozzy. Good old buddy of mine. He was an Ozzy Osbourne impersonator for over 40 years. Wrote books about Ozzy. He passed away this year. He's a Flint legend here in Flint, Michigan. And died 1 week to the day after his idol, Ozzy Osbourne. So rest in peace, Flint's Ozzy. I wanted to say that. That was the only thing that put a damper on a great weekend. Spending it with family. I hope you did too. The summer's running out, folks. In one respect, I'm glad because it means I'm getting closer to football season. But it is moving awfully fast. Let's see who else is in here. Broski says he's not on Facebook. All right, well, nice try. I tried, Broski. Thanks anyway. Brent says Ian Kennelly just became the #1 UDFA to make the 53. Yeah, still remains to be seen, Brent, but his box score did look pretty good. I did take a look at it. And here's Joseph again saying Ian Kennelly showed up. Right, maybe a UDFA gem in the making here. When we look at the box score, we'll talk about it. Tom Kennedy with 9 lives. Brent says Rakestraw turned into baked straw during the Hall of Fame game and now back to break straw. My friend Big Dan calls him balsa wood rake straw, made of balsa wood. Well, it's a pretty tough game playing corner in the NFL, folks. And he did seem slightly built when he was coming in the league, and that was a concern. And maybe he didn't have the frame to play the position. And now if it's like a broken collarbone, Charles Rogers on line 1. If it's a broken collarbone, that's a road to nowhere. It's an Ozzy reference. Broski says Lions are already missing a lot of depth on the D-line. McNeil, Pascal, Wingo, Hutch is coming back off injury, and Davin Poop has issues staying healthy. True. Very true. Very true. Let's break that comment down for a little bit, though. If you watch the Inside the Den video, before they were on the clock, Brad and Dan looked at each other and they were pointing at Tyleek Williams' name, and they said, "Can you imagine him and Mac when Mac comes back? Him and Mac together on the D line? Oh, well, that's our future, folks. Yeah, right now you are missing those guys, and Onwuzurike, he's gone. Another guy you were counting on. McNeil will be out a month and a half into the season, they say, at best. Pascal, however, has a chance to play sooner rather than later, and Mekhi Wingo as well. And don't you worry about Hutch one bit. Davenport, all the reports out of camp are he's a beast. He's dominating in camp. So we already know that when he's healthy, he's a beast. So we will see if he can stay healthy. But those are legit concerns, Broski. That is, I'm not going to poo-poo that comment one bit. You're absolutely right. And we have some issues on the offensive line also, which is a great segue into my next point, which is the Lions haters out in full force. Even the Lions fans have a case of post-traumatic same old Lions, PTSOL. I'm okay to coin that phrase because I did. PTSOL. For you Lions fans, you're so used to something going wrong for the Lions. You're so used to, below average performance. You're so used to when you do have a good season, the next year it sucks. If you have a 2-year run like we're on right now, it can't possibly last. But that's incorrect. That's a fallacy, okay? This team won 15 games last year. Do they have a super hard schedule? Yeah. Do they have a couple of concerns on the D-line and the O-line? Yeah. Name one team, even the Baltimore Ravens, the Philadelphia Eagles, at this time of the year right now that don't have the exact same questions. They have It might be a quarterback for this team, or it might be a wide receiver for this team. We happen to be good at those positions. Every team right now has a couple of question marks that they're worried about. But once the season gets going, once we take the field on September 7th at Lambeau Field, you are going to see that this is one of the best football teams in the world, in the NFL. Top 5 in the whole league, hands down. I don't think you'll get one person to dispute that. You might get some people say, hey, they're not even the best team in their own division. But recent history says otherwise. And when you look up and down the roster, that's a hard point you're going to be able to sell, in my opinion. Josh Paschal has underperformed severely for where he was picked last year as a Lion. Yeah, he was actually picked 3 years ago in the second round. He was supposed to be that other edge. Just never worked out. In fact, he played well interior. He's good at setting the edge out there on the edge. He just doesn't seem to have a lot of pass rush. What up, Doe? Mr. Jeremy B. Top 5 for sure. Without question. I don't care who you're a fan of. You can't deny that. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, but I can acknowledge they're a top 5 team in this league. I can acknowledge that the Rams and the Buccaneers are fringe right outside top 5 of that team, of that tier, that top 5 elite. Baltimore, Kansas City, Buffalo, Philadelphia, Detroit. Who else? Rams and the Bucks might have something to say about it. Denver was a playoff team. Chargers look like they're improving. But as far as elite team, this is an elite team. If you get in the playoffs, you've got a chance. And I don't think there's any question that this is a playoff team. Maybe this is exactly what the Lions have needed. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the comments right now. Anybody wants to join the broadcast? As long as your name isn't scam likely, we'll let you in there. Unless you're a robot, we'll let you in. But what if John Morton and Kelvin Shepherd are even better coordinators than Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson? No one even entertains that idea. These guys were promoted. Kelvin Shepherd promoted from within. John Morton familiar with the organization. The Lions know fully well who these guys are before they hire them. And Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have been pretty astute at evaluating talent so far. You can point to Broderick Martin or Ennis Rakestraw if you want to, but the overall track record not only smashes the odds or the averages, it's the very top in the league in hit rate on draft picks. When it comes to evaluating talent, that's what these guys do best. Why would you think it would be any different when they're evaluating who to promote to defensive coordinator and who to promote to offensive coordinator? These guys could be even better than Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. And if that's the case, does that change your prediction of how you think this year is going to go? Look, last year, not one person said 15 games. Not one. There were a couple that said 14, and we've told them they were wackos. We all predicted 12. And, of course, they won 15. The year before that, we all predicted 10, 9, 10, and they won 12. So I love that all of you now are saying 9, 10, 11, maybe. The extreme people are saying 11 because that schedule's so hard. Okay, but this is a top 5 team. And even though they have a really hard schedule, guess what? The Lions are the really hard part of that other team's schedule. You got to beat the man. You want to beat the man? You want to beat the man, you got to beat the man. Right now, they're back-to-back division champions. Undefeated on the road last year. Swept the division. And you all of a sudden think that they are going to fall to barely into playoff contention? Come on. Come on. I'm a lot more optimistic. This might be exactly what the Lions have needed. Please welcome to the show, Smoking J from Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, and Jeremy B right here on the Huddle Sports Network. How's it going, JB?
Fantastic. Another day this side of the side and upright.
Right on. The caged lion roars again.
Rawr.
Ralph says, hello, Mike. What's up? Ralph, welcome to the program.
You're absolutely right that we're a top 5 team. It's debatable whether we're 3, 4, or 5. And, depends on which person you ask. You look at all the pundits, they say the same thing. The only thing that has changed is the stupid power rankings thing that comes out every week. I mean, we just had Decker return to individual practice. We had Kirby and Amik return to practice. Oh, no. Ennis Rakestraw hurt himself again as a dime back. At best.
Right. No, I get your point 100%. We lose Rakestraw, but we get an all-pro Kirby back on the field. So, right.
And Amik, remember, that was the biggest downfall of that defense versus the Commanders. The first 2 drives, we stopped them because of Amik Roberts, and then he broke his arm, and we couldn't stop anything because we had Kendall Vildor out there.
Correct. And the Lions fans collectively gasped when that happened because we knew we'd been hurt so bad. Now losing Amik is when the doubt started to creep into our minds right there in the first quarter of that game. I believe that.
Yeah, 100%. We got Davey in the chat.
Yeah, he's a great supporter, man. Got to appreciate all of you.
What's up?
If you are watching it live, we appreciate you. But don't forget, you can, if you're watching on the rebroadcast from the feed, put your comment in. Also, we love to go back and engage conversations after the fact too. So next week, JB, I'll be going to a concert that I bought the tickets months and months ago. So
you won't be live.
I won't be live. I'm going to pre-record the broadcast on Sunday and then just broadcast it on Monday. While I'm going to try to squeeze some more fun out of this summer. So anyway, I know that you've done shows since Thursday, many shows since Thursday, and you've analyzed the 34-7 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers up one side and down the other. And I'm not going to ask you to rehash all of that. What I'm going to ask you is, what's your biggest positive and your biggest negative takeaways from the Hall of Fame game?
My biggest positive is that 2 of the rookies that we took later that everybody was up in arms about showed out. They were our highest rated offensive and defensive players in Isaac Tesla and also Ahmad Hassanin. My biggest downfall it was the fact Skipper got hurt, because for a couple of plays, Manu looked bad, but he actually shored up and looked great the rest of the time he was in. Then we had nothing, no pressure, nothing other than Grant Stewart, who should never be allowed to return a kick again as long as he lives.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned Grant Stewart, and I'm so glad you mentioned Dan Skipper. These are 2 players that do figure to get extensive playing time in the regular season for the Lions that were out there. One of the few players out on the field that day that we expect to see regularly in the regular season. And also Isaac Tesla. Tesla was the best player on the field when he was out there, is what I thought. The box score says it too. In limited playing time, he had 3 targets, 2 catches for 46 yards, a 24-yarder and a 22-yarder, and a smooth stride doing it. And that is definitely a big positive. Again, one of the guys Brad Holmes wanted moved up to get him, to your point. And then also Dan Jackson with 6 tackles, JB. I mean, we do lose him today for the whole year, but kind of just shows.
It is the whole year, huh? What is it? Achilles?
It is out for the year, reported by Crunch Time Sports, out for the year.
What was the injury? Do you remember?
All they're saying is lower leg.
So it could be a calf tear, it could be Achilles, it could be an ACL. We don't know. We just know it's lower leg.
Joseph, I love your call out because you're moving right into my next topic. Negative would be the backup quarterback situation, would be his biggest negative. The backup quarterback situation is a area of concern. The positive would be Skipper and Giovanni and the rookies. That's a great call out, Joseph. Thank you. Skipper out with an ankle injury, expected only to miss 1 week.
Mhm.
Dan Skipper going to play swing tackle for this team. And we definitely want to keep him healthy.
So we also medically waived Raekwon Williams
Yep.
and signed offensive tackle Justin Herron.
Right. Justin Herron, who was a 6th-round pick in 2019, has bounced around a lot of teams, had an injury history. But I wonder, is he just a camp body anyway?
It could. I think he is. I think he could be the guy that stays on the practice squad, and once whoever gets healthy for Sorsdal to be ejected, he'll take his place.
Well, the backup quarterback situation, in my opinion, is pretty concerning because Kyle Allen and Hendon Hooker both looked atrocious in the game. And these are people that you're counting on, that if something happens to Goff, you need to spell your quarterback. You need someone who can come in and lead the team. And I'm not going to say there's not going to be a drop-off, but you should at least count on they could win 2 out of 4 games for you. It does not look like we have that right now, even though it's hard to tell because they're not throwing to Amon-Ra and they're not handing off to Jahmyr Gibbs. But
Right. And also, don't forget, we said this last year, and then by the second preseason game, Hendon Hooker started to look a lot better.
Okay.
He had a bad game.
Okay, that's fair. But, JB, when Dan Campbell was asked about it, you could tell it was clear that he was concerned also. He said, quote, Hendon just needs to put some small victories together, unquote.
Right.
So he's struggling, getting the plays in and out of the huddle. He alluded to that, making the checks at the line. Reading the defense, he's struggling, and he's
talking about a guy that
he's in his 3rd year.
Yeah, and a guy that it may be his 3rd year, but it's only his 2nd year playing.
Right. Okay.
Remember, his first year he was out.
Okay. Well, then I'm allowed to call J.J. McCarthy a rookie.
Right. I do say that it's his red shirt rookie season.
Okay.
That's what I do say about J.J. McCarthy.
It's still concerning.
It is, but I want to see how he progresses. I want to see how he progresses throughout the preseason.
Okay. All right, but guys like Aiden O'Connell are out there sitting at home on the couch that could be a better second-string quarterback than the guy we drafted in the 3rd round.
If he was better, he'd still be on the Raiders.
Okay. Not when Geno
Raiders
Smith
are an awful. Raiders. No, that isn't what I'm saying, because they let him go as a 2nd-year guy. Remember? After his 2nd year, they let him go. I'm saying if he was better, he'd still be the backup there for Geno Smith instead of them going another route.
No, because when you have a quarterback that was a starter like that, it's better to get him off the team completely when you bring the new guy in so that there's no controversy. You don't split the locker room. That's well known around the league. They do that. They get rid of that incumbent guy and they blame it on salary. But the truth is, they say you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none.
Yeah. We've seen a 2-quarterback system work and get a team to the playoffs last year.
Well, I like that. I like that attitude. I see you started the comments here.
Yeah, a couple of them. Okay. That's what I do.
We got Brent says he had the Lions going 11-6 until Rags retired. Now it's 10-7.
I have not wavered where I said, because I tell you every preseason before a game is played, I do my window of wins for my preview. And I said, we're going to win a minimum of 10, but I think it could be 12. And there's that outside liar. They beat one of the 5 teams I don't think they're going to win against, and they get 13.
You think they get 13 this year?
I think they can. I didn't say they will. There's a difference. I'm saying
they can win them all. They can win them all.
No, but I see a 12-win season max is what I see. Looking at the schedule right off the rip, I look at 5 teams on the road that I don't think we have a chance of winning against, and that's the Ravens. I think we can beat the Chiefs, but I think they owe us one from week 1 a couple of years ago, so I think we're gonna lose that. I think we lose at Philly. I think we're going to lose at LA, and I think we're going to lose 1 in the division at least on the road.
Okay. So that's 5. So you
And
got
if
us
we
at
don't-
12 and 5.
I got us at 12-5 is what I came up with right off the rip. When I looked at the schedule, that's what I came up with.
And didn't you predict 12 and 5 last year?
I said a minimum of 12-5 last year. I had 12-14. I was one of the ones you guys said 14.
I do believe that. I do believe that. But you were wrong last year. It was 15. So if you're wrong this year, 12 and it's 13, I'll take it, JB. So to the point though of the backup quarterbacks, Kyle Allen, abysmal, 9 of 14, 2 horrible picks, a passer rating of 43.2. What do you got to say about that?
He made David Blau, Tim Boyle, and Nate Suckfelt look good.
I like Jake Fromm, dang it. Jake Fromm, State Farm. What happened to Jake Fromm? He should have been on this team. Hendon Hooker, an abysmal 3 of 6 for 18 yards and an interception and a passer rating of 16.7.
And the bad part is that pick that was taken right out of Lovett's hands.
Right.
It was in Lovett's hands. He should have had it. I hate that stat because that, to me, that should go more like a strip fumble because it was in the player's hands, but it wasn't a completed catch. So they throw it on the quarterback.
All right. Dominic Lovett, 5 catches for 31 yards. So the rookies that we drafted this year were showing out. And when you're playing in the Hall of Fame game, the first preseason game of the NFL season, and you're putting anyone out there that plays in a regular season game for your team, even if they're the third stringer, you want to see that player dominate. Okay, because your scrubs are in, their scrubs are in, and if I got to put in a guy like Craig Reynolds, then I want to see Craig Reynolds be clearly the best player on the field at that time. Because he's the floor of my team.
Right.
And that's, I think, what we saw. Craig Reynolds, 10 carries, 38 yards, and a touchdown. He looked like he could go all day, look completely fresh after those 10 carries. He's going to be, I think he solidified himself.
He left the game with an injury after the touchdown run.
Really?
Yes.
I guess I missed that.
It was a lower leg injury. Otherwise, he'd have came back in and played the whole first half.
Oh, I thought they just took him out. Good call, JB. That's why we have you on the show. We already said Isaac Tesla's stat line, 2 for 3 for 46 yards. Did you hear his new nickname?
Vanillatron.
Yes, and the other new one.
No.
Coleslaw.
Coleslaw.
Yeah, because he's white and you can't leave him out in the open.
I love it. I just think those are the 5 toughest games on the road that we have. At least one in the division, at least one. And I think it's going to be week 1 because that's like a preseason game for the starters when everybody's sloppy. And last year, the Packers put up 31 and we put up 24 and barely beat the LA Rams at home, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And they did that overseas on the soccer field that got Jordan Love hurt.
Right.
I do pay attention to that little bit of stuff, that it looked like early on the Packers looked like a better team right out of the gate. And then the injury happened, but Malik Willis comes in. He wins 2 out of 3 for them.
Well, Greg Rice is in the chat. He says he loves your prediction, Jeremy, of 12 wins for the Detroit Lions. Some guy named Ken says evening.
Yeah, that's Smoking Dad.
Smoking Dad. And now cue the Darth Vader music. John Dorn is in the chat. JJ McCarthy had a full training camp last year, so I don't see him as a rookie.
He didn't have a full training camp.
What he is a first-year starter, but he does have the luxury of having the same play caller, the same offense.
Right.
Caleb Williams does not have that luxury.
Nor does Hendon Hooker.
Nor does
Jared Goff. Right.
So
but and what everybody forgets is Johnny Morton was a part of the 2022 season to start because he was hired as a passing game coordinator before we hired Tanner Engstrom, but he was sniped away to the Bucs that year. So, and that was after he helped build the playbook with Ben Johnson and Jared Goff. So he is familiar with the old playbook that had Ben Johnson on it but he's more of a pass-happy coordinator from what I understand from his time in Denver with Sean Payton. So I think you might see it go from 55% run to 45% pass. You might see a more even split or a little less than even split, like a 48-52.
Well, the NFL right now passes over 70%.
Yep, and we're one of the few teams that did not average that last year is what I'm getting at. So I think it's going to bump to the other side of the equation. You know what I'm saying? Where we're doing a little more passing.
Right, and losing Ragnow and Zeitler is definitely going to play into that as well, I think. So,
and it looks like Glasgow went ahead and overtook Tate Ratledge his first week out there practicing.
John says, my prediction's better. The Lions 9 wins tops. Too many changes in that front line is a big question mark. Fortunately, John, you're always wrong. So that's
I love it.
I love that you're making that prediction, John, because it just makes me feel even better about this upcoming season.
Didn't he say 9 wins last year?
I think he did. And JMO was going to do a bust. JMO wouldn't get over 600 yards, I think he said.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't JMO hit 1,050 catches?
So
right around there.
Congratulations on that 4th receiver in the draft, who's 5'11". Brent says, worried more about Kevin O'Connell with JJ in the Vikings roster than the Cheesehead Packers. Yeah, I don't know. The Packers have what these other 3 teams, the Packers and the Vikings have what the other 2 teams don't, which is what we were just talking about, and that's continuity. And that's big. The big, especially coaching continuity, the same voice in the locker room, the same vision, everybody dialed in, a collective consciousness, and that's powerful stuff. And the only one that's what Green Bay and Minnesota have this year. It's going to be a dogfight. We already know that. Go ahead, JB.
The only one that didn't lose any assistance whatsoever was the Packers. The only thing they lost was their advisor in Robert Salah, but he wasn't even a coach. You know what I'm saying? He was an advisor to the offensive line because he was a defensive-minded coach and knows what the defenses do to help the O-line block better.
Mm-hmm. So when's the next show?
When's my next show?
When's the next show?
My next show will be Wednesday at noon because I got called in for work in the morning.
So you're skipping tomorrow's show then?
Yes, I am. But I will be on Driving to the Top production at 9 p.m. on Tuesday. They also go live into my channel because I share it there. So that'll be live tomorrow night where we kind of cover all sports.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. I'm going to talk about fantasy football now because, before I do that, Lions' next game is Friday, August 8th, and they are at Atlanta. 7 p.m. kickoff on that. Jeremy, I wanted your thoughts. They say Dan Campbell said that Hendon Hooker is going to get the start.
Can't be worse than how Kyle Allen started. That's all I say.
So what are you looking for in that game specifically?
I want to see if Hendon Hooker progresses in the new offense with a new coordinator because, for a young guy who had his first year in the book under one coordinator, he just got a new coordinator, just much like Caleb Williams. But you're talking about a young guy, not a vet. There's a difference there. So I want to see if he progresses in week 2, if he gets better because he's playing with the second and first string this week versus the scrubs.
That's a great call out. Right. And especially things like getting the play in and out of the huddle and things like that. Or definitely good things.
I think he had 3 delay of game penalties, I believe it was.
Wow. Right. And then with preseason games coming up against Miami and Houston, I think by the end of it, if we don't see some real market improvement from Hendon Hooker, I think you could see the Lions do what they did last year when they went out and got Teddy Bridgewater, bring in a vet for reassurance.
Right. And they still may do that. Just to have, because
they shouldn't have to.
No,
if you have to do that, it means you missed on Hendon Hooker.
At the same time, they're to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Anybody but Kyle Allen. Right now is where I'm at.
Okay. But specifically, Hendon, it's his job to lose. Hendon Hooker's job to lose.
Right. And if he progresses, he won't. If he doesn't, he will. That's what I'm getting at. I want to see the progression from last week to this week to see if it's a lot like last year. Because last year he struggled the first week he was in versus the Giants. Then the next week he looked really good. He went from a 46% completion percentage week 1 and 3 picks. The next week he was 62% with 3 touchdowns and no picks. So
right.
I want to see that progression again if he makes that big jump, a 16% jump in completion percentage.
Okay. And Brent, I'm with you, Brent. Jake Fromm is better than Kyle Allen.
I didn't understand letting him go. I didn't myself.
I don't even know if he landed anywhere. He had some spot duty with the Lions, and he looked great.
Right. Matter of fact, he played along with Hendon, and both of them did really well in that last game versus the Chiefs last year for preseason.
You're watching the Main Event Football Show. I'm Main Event Mike, your host. We're here with Jeremy Ballright from the Motor City Kneecap Biters and the Huddle Sports Network. We're talking about this blowout loss to the Chargers in the Hall of Fame game by the Detroit Lions. And I posed a question earlier, and I wanted your thoughts on it. It was before you joined the show. What if John Morton and Kelvin Shepherd are even better than Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson?
Fantastic. It'll shut up all the haters.
Do you think it's a possibility?
I think it is with Kelvin Shepherd for sure, because AG looked like he was allergic to calling real blitzes. The most he blitzed was 5, whereas we've already seen they tried, even though it didn't work. They were blitzing 5 and 6 and maybe 7 this past weekend. Even though it didn't work, he was doing it.
Kelvin Shepherd definitely preaching aggressiveness with his defensive strategy. And there's been a big emphasis on getting the ball out, punching the ball out, taking the ball away. They are going to be the Lions defense. I'm going to take them in the fantasy league, in the fantasy draft, because, defenses come and go anyway in fantasy. Sometimes I play a different defense every week in fantasy.
I already had a fantasy
draft the Lions defense just to see if all the hype and all of the coaching pans out into more turnovers. We will see. So we are going to talk about fantasy football. I'm going to keep you on for a few more minutes to talk about fantasy before I let you go here, JB. And it's getting time now. A lot of people's fantasy football drafts are coming up in the next couple of weeks. My drafts aren't until a couple of days before the season kicks off, right up to the very end. I play in some shark leagues where these guys, they don't want to draft too early and have one of their guys get injured. So we draft right up to that couple of days before the first game. But I want to talk about basic strategy when it comes to I know you play fantasy football, JB. I want to talk about basic strategy. Now, last year, I told you all about Bucky Irving. I came on the air and I told you, draft this guy late. Most drafts, he won't even get drafted. Take him with your last pick. Whatever you have to do, stick this guy on your bench. And look what happened. Did any of you listen to me? I know I didn't listen to me. I didn't take him, and I should have. But I told you all about him. And I'm going to tell you all about another guy today, too. But I want to talk about the basics. JB, how do you build your fantasy team? Do you have a philosophy? I want to go with an anchor running back. I want to get 2 out of the first 3 as wide receivers. Taking into account that this is probably not a high PPR league. It's just like a dad league, maybe a half-point PPR at the most. Do you have a basic strategy that you start out with when you're drafting in fantasy?
I usually do. If it depends on if it's a PPR or a straight points league. That's my biggest thing. Because if it's a straight points league,
let's say it's a straight points league. Like I said, maybe a half a point PPR at the very most.
Then I'm going running back first. I'm going running back first. And then I will.
If you're picking outside the top 5 and you're still going to take running back first?
I got Derrick Henry at 7.
Yes, this year. But you also had to pass on Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you had to
I didn't. He went 5th.
Oh, okay. Well, you get my point. Then if somebody took him, then they didn't take another top 5 wide. They didn't take CeeDee Lamb. There's not enough guys in the top 10 for you to take a running back if you've got the 8th pick and everybody's taking an anchor running back.
So do you want to hear my team I got at 7 with a 12-man league?
12-man league. You know, I just don't know the competition you're drafting against, though. If these are some bumpkin dumbasses.
I think there's some bumpkin dumbasses because listen to this roster. I got Joe Burrow, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, T.J. Hawkinson, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Jake Bates, and the Lions defense. That's my starters.
Yeah, I give that team a B-.
At picking 7, that's not bad, though.
I don't know. I've done a couple of mocks so far, and I picked from the 7 hole and the 4 hole.
So
and I had a team that was stacked both times. So I feel like here's my advice to the listeners. You let the board fall to you. You go in with a strategy like JB's saying, I want to take a running back first. I'm of that school too. Jamar Chase is the number 1 rated fantasy player. He's led the NFL in fantasy scoring 2 years in a row, and he comes in this year as the number 1 pick. But I like to take a running back first. I don't care who the receiver is. I don't care what the stats are, because every year falls differently, and I know that there are a hell of a lot more wide receivers out there that can change a game than running backs that can change a game,
right?
Especially as it relates to fantasy football. So JB taking Derrick Henry 7th. Right now, Derrick Henry has like a 12th pick grade on him. That's the average ADP for Derrick Henry. I believe is like 12.
But he was the best running back available when I went.
So I would do the same thing probably in that case. I would take that anchor running back. It doesn't mean that you have to. But
right.
Don't be so rigid with your plan because you don't know who you're drafting against, and they can blow your plan up. So you need to be flexible. That's my advice to you fantasy football players this week. That nice, beautiful trophy there over my shoulder. I got to give it back in another month because I didn't win again. So I got to give it back so the new champion can sport it on his podcast for a year.
Oh, that sucks. But my backups, I went more rookies than anything just because you don't know and the unknown.
Upside.
Right. I took Cam Ward, Tajay Spears, Jaden Higgins, Emeka Ibuka, Xavier Restrepo, Isaac Tesla, and Tucker Kraft.
Except for Kraft, you took all rookies.
Yes. Oh, no, Tajay Spears is a second-year guy.
Oh, right. He's right.
He was good for Tennessee till he got hurt.
Yeah. He's a third down back, though. He's not an every down back.
Right.
So my sleeper pick for you people this year might not be much of a sleeper. Is running back in Denver, R.J. Harvey. He's only 5'8", 205 pounds. He does have J.K. Dobbins in front of him on the depth chart. Only 5'8", 205. Pretty slightly built. Of course, you know, those kind of backs with those measurables, you see all the time in the NFL, and they can be effective. He's not too small. But this guy, what he's got going for him, the biggest thing he's got going for him is his head coach, Sean Payton, who knows how to game plan and scheme to make running backs productive in fantasy. I believe by midseason, either Dobbins will be hurt or R.J. Harvey will have just beaten him out. This kid was a former quarterback at Virginia. He then transferred to the University of Central Florida, where they converted him to a running back. In his junior season, he had 1,400 yards and 16 touchdowns. And then he followed that up with a senior campaign of 1,577 yards and 22 touchdowns. So only 2 years of real mileage on him as he comes into the league under Sean Payton for a Denver Bronco team that just re-signed Cortland Sutton to a big contract and have a promising young quarterback in Bo Nix on a rookie deal. I think this is a great spot for R.J. Harvey. You can get him in the later rounds, and he could be sneaky good on your fantasy team. Remember, you heard it here, R.J. Harvey as your sleeper. You can usually get him the 8th round or beyond in most drafts.
I
what do you think of that?
I like it. I like RJ Harvey out of UCF. I watched a lot of him. He's a small, compact runner who gets low. He doesn't really carry guys, but he does break tackles. He's quite a lot faster and more elusive for somebody with that big a frame at 5'8", because 5'8" and 205, that's like me at 5'11" and 220.
Right. No. You know, Barry Sanders was 5'8", 220.
Right.
He was just built a little different than you.
Yeah. No, he had legs like tree trunks. I got that.
Yeah. Would you like to divulge any sleeper pick for me and my audience?
I do like somebody like Egbuka as a rookie. I like him as a sleeper pick. And also, I don't mind Tesla, because there's a chance if he keeps showing out that he'll end up supplanting Tim Patrick as the third.
Right. That's a great call. And he has the right body type to do that.
Right.
I mean, the coaching staff, the players, they love Tim Patrick. He did work with Jared Goff in the offseason to kind of cement himself as that number 3 receiver. But when you got a guy with that skill set and the youth, and he looks so smooth out there running.
And the speed. Let's not forget the speed.
You can see why Brad Holmes fell in love with this guy. He looks like a Ferrari out there.
And just like, I can't remember the author's name from ESPN, but he said right after the draft, it wasn't as big of a reach as all the fans are making it out to be for Tesla, because he said that he heard the Bills and the Saints, which were 71 and 72, were going to take Tesla if he fell. And also the Rams tried to trade up for that spot for him.
Wow.
And they offered almost the same amount of stuff, just was different years. They were offered a second round pick from 2 years out. You know what I'm saying?
Which is probably who was driving up the price and why we had to give up those 2 third-rounders, because old Les Snead over there, Brad Holmes' old mentor, out there driving up the price. But Brad still paid it because he wanted this guy.
Right.
And if you walk inside the den, it was very clear they wanted this guy.
Yep. And what was it he said? It was after the Senior Bowl, even before the Combine, his performance in practice and in the Senior Bowl itself, he became a guy he targeted and paid attention to.
Mm-hmm. JB, thanks for being on the show. Have a good time tomorrow, and we'll see you back on the air on Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Have a great night.
Jeremy Ballwright. JB, smoking Jeremy B on the program. So that's it. Next week will be a pre-recorded show on Sunday. I'll put it out on Monday. Please get over and follow our Facebook page. I foresee a thing again. I'm not seeing any comments from Facebook. It's only coming in from YouTube. So I apologize if you're on Facebook commenting and you're not coming through on the live. I promise to get to you in the rebroadcast where it's in the feed. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next week. God bless each and every one of you. Until then, peace out.
Yeah, yo, it's game time, ain't no messing around. Huddle Sports Network, the best in town. From NFL rumors to the latest trends, we got all your sports, just tune in, my friends. Catch us on Roku, Fire Stick, take your pick. Facebook, YouTube, where the action's slick. Daily shows that drop like a bomb. From 10 to 11, it's Ken and Ken.